Today I'm going to talk about the best way to make your traditional martial art or any martial art work in reality. In the real world for self-defense or whatever you need it for. So the problem, traditional martial arts gets a bad reputation sometimes for not working in reality. So one of the problems is the way it's done these days is it's usually done through compliant training. A person throws a punch. Often it's a straight punch that people on the street don't throw, and they hold still while the people do the moves around it. So, the person stands there and lets you do the takedown on them, or they do whatever. It's all very compliant training instead of resistant training with a resistant partner. So it works every time because nobody's resisting you or trying to stop you. So that's one of the issues. Another one is that in traditional martial arts, they do forms or kata or things like that. And often there's not a connection between the forms, the sparring, and the self-defense. They all look completely different. And I think to solve that, they'd have to look the same, because why are you practicing three different things to do one thing? So that's a big issue also. And I guess Bruce Lee used to say that when one person would throw a punch and the other person did 5-6 moves around them while they stood there and held still, he would call that dissecting a statue. So a lot of times, in traditional martial arts these days, that person, they do a lot of that dissecting a statue thing. And my Krav Maga instructor did a demonstration once where he had someone, he said, punch me. And the student went to punch him, and of course, being a student and not wanting to hit the instructor or anything like that, my instructor just caught his fist. He just caught his fist in the air, and he said, oh, all of you guys should just do that on the street. And his point was that in a martial arts school where someone doesn't want to hurt you and trying to help you out, it's nothing like it is on the street. Like, that would never work ever on the street with someone trying to attack you. But it did work in the school. So we always have to be reminded, and that, I think, was his point, that we always have to be reminded of reality, because we're not in reality. We're in a simulated reality, and we want to make it as real as we can and still be safe. So those are some of the problems with traditional martial arts. What are some of the solutions? What can we do? Well, I think the first thing that people need to do, are, if they do forms, is realize that what real applications are. What applications to the forms are that really work. Not hokey ones that someone tells you that really, if you use your common sense, you go, yeah, that'll never work. But real things that will work. And there are good people out there. If you do some investigating online, you can find some decent applications to a lot of the forms that are popular. And use your own mind too. Open your mind and figure things out. And if you're going to do traditional martial arts, you should be able to use it to defend yourself. And if you can't, like most schools these days, that's a problem. And it's a problem for traditional martial arts, and it's going to give it a bad reputation if you can't. In addition to learning those things, though, all moves have to be pressure tested. You have to use these things against through sparring and with against a resistant opponent. So, someone's attacking you and they're trying to get out of the move, and you're trying to defend against real punches, and you can put on gloves, and you can use alternate targets. Like, some people say, well, you can't practice traditional martial arts like that because we strike to the eyes and the groin and the throat and things like that. But you should use those things, and you can use those in a sparring scenario. Just use the alternate targets. So wherever there's an eye strike, you push your thumb or your fingers above the eyes, or the groin, you slap the inner thigh, or the throat, you push on the upper chest. Or biting, you can be in close and make like a biting sound, and that can be that can be what you can use. And so, develop the applications of the forms and then pressure test them. And if they don't work, you're going to find out real quick when you're against somebody, your size or larger who's resisting you and fighting back. You're going to find out real quick if your technique works or not. And the fault might be you, or the fault might be the technique, but you're going to have to work through that and figure all that out. Yeah, and another thing you might want to do while you're sparring is be prepared for weapons. So maybe sometimes while you're sparring and you're using your techniques and your alternate targets, let the person pull out like a practice knife, like a fake knife or a fake gun, and you got to defend that against resistance, against a resisting opponent trying to take that thing away and attack you with it. So this is the only way that I can see to make these traditional martial arts work. Now that's going to take a lot of time, and it's going to not fly at a lot of martial arts schools, but to me it's the only way to let your traditional martial art work. And should you be doing that with your non-traditional martial art, like your MMA? Because MMA is great for a lot of things, but they don't practice weapons, they don't do things like eyes or throat attacks and stuff, so you need to practice that if you want to be safe on the street too. So some things to think about. This working with Burton Richardson really got me thinking about this, because that's his big thing, that if things don't work in sparring scenarios, then under real resistance and a non-compliant opponent, that they don't really work. And you'll find out real quick what works. So something to think about. And I hope that helps, and I hope some of you out there in the martial arts community think about this and use it. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. And that's it. So we'll have some more videos coming out to you soon. And if you could like, share, and subscribe, I would appreciate that. Thanks.